Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the ninth ERDT Congress, and this is the session for digital transformation in government, business, and academe. I am Professor Jonathan Dunca, project leader of ERDT for De La Salle University, and I'm also the Dean of the Gokongwei College of Engineering of De La Salle University. Let me introduce our moderator and our speakers. Let's start with our moderator, Dr. Epictetus Patalinghug. Dr. Patalinghug has 37 years of experience in research, teaching, and public service, starting as visiting assistant professor at the University of Hawaii, and then as assistant professor, associate professor, professor, and professor emeritus at the University of the Philippines. He served as a commissioner of Tariff Commission from 1996 to 1997. He conducted and directed research and policy studies on non-tariff measures in the Asia-Pacific region, foreign direct investments and growth, poverty, inequality, and inclusive growth, logistics industry in the Greater Capital Region, supply chain connectivity, post-disaster national assessment, benefits and costs of carbon emission reduction, capacity building for the metropolitan water and sewerage system, competition policy in power and telecommunication sectors, retail trade liberalization, among others. He represented the university and the country in various local and international conferences. Dr. Patalinghug was editor of the Philippine Management Review from 2004 to 2005, co-editor of Philippine Review of Economics and Business from 1986 to 1996, and associate editor of Social Science Diliman from 2009 to 2012. He was the recipient of the following professorial chair awards: Castle and Cook Professorial Chair in Agribusiness from 1982 to 1988, Vicente Madrigal Professorial Chair in Business Administration from 1989 to 1993, Emmanuel Soriano Professorial Chair in Business Administration from 1994 to 2011, BSP UP Centennial Professorial Chair in Finance from 2012 to 2013, and Virata Business School Professor Emeritus Chair from 2014 to present. Now, let me introduce our first speaker on digitalization of government projects. And she's Undersecretary Dr. Rosemary Edilion. Dr. Edilion is presently the Undersecretary for National Development Policy and Planning at the National Economic and Development Authority. Yusek Edilion holds a PhD in economics from La Trobe University in Australia, an MA degree in economics from the University of the Philippines School of Economics, and an MS degree in statistics from the UP School of Statistics. She's also a 2019 Presidential Gawad CES awardee. Among her major responsibilities is shepherding the formulation of the Philippine Development Plan, or the PDP. The PDP is an elaboration of the country's priorities over the medium term and is the blueprint of government policies, programs, and projects. She also oversees the monitoring of the PDP implementation. In addition, she is in charge of providing technical advice on policy issues to both the legislative and executive branches of government, especially the committees of the NEDA board. Presently, Yusek Edilion chairs a task group on recovery under the National Task Force against COVID-19. She also chairs the Technical Working Group on Anticipatory and Forward Planning and a member of the sub-PWG on Data Analytics under the Interagency Task Force on the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases. Yusek Edilion also chairs the Social Development Committee, Technical Board, and the Technical Committee on Tariff-Related Matters, and is a member of the Development Budget Coordination Committee of the NEDA Board. She also heads the Secretariat of the Economic Development Cluster of the Cabinet. Our second speaker is Mr. Greg Camacho, the head of GrabFood. He will talk on food delivery technology. Mr. Camacho is the head of GrabFood Philippines. He started his tech journey in Uber as part of the launch team for Uber Eats back in 2018. Following the merger with Grab, he moved over and helped launch GrabFood as one of its founding members. As operations lead, he helped take GrabFood's first 10,000 merchants online and launched Cebu as the first expansion city outside of Metro Manila. Following this, he was tasked to lead the strategy team to help the platform recover after the COVID-19 pandemic began. Mr. Camacho earned his BS Management degree from the Ateneo de Manila University and his Master's of Business Administration degree from the University of Oxford. Our third speaker is Dr. Arnel Onesimo Uy, and he will give a presentation on automation of business processes in the Academe. Dr. Uy is currently the Vice Chancellor for Administration of De La Salle University. He is appointed as a project owner of the Digital Transformation Enterprise Resource Planning project called Between, or the Banner Initiative to Transform, Unify, Integrate, and Navigate of DLSU, which involves the integration and migration to the cloud of the three key information systems: finance, human resource, and student life cycle. He is a chief assessor in the ASEAN University Network Quality Assurance, or the AUNQA, and serves as the chair of the Commission on Higher Education Technical Committee on Accountancy. Aside from his involvement in AUNQA and CHED, he is a full professor in the Accountancy Department, the Juan del Rosario College of Business at the De La Salle University, where he served in various administrative capacities since 2003, including Chief Compliance Officer, Vice Dean for Research, Graduate Studies of the RBR College of Business, Chair of the Accountancy Department, and Business Management Department. His current research work focuses on management accounting, such as studies on the nature of cost behavior and its various implications to company flexibility, competitiveness, and sustainability. He's also part of the Global Cross-Cultural Entrepreneurship Research Group, an informal group of scholars and professors from different countries who studies personal value systems of different cultures and generations. The group presents their work in various academic conferences such as the Academy of Management and the Southern Management Association. The group publishes their work in several peer-reviewed journals. Our last but not the least is Professor Paulo Noel Paje. Director Paje has 25 years of experience in the fields of IT management, IT operations, information systems planning, IT project management, systems implementation, and business reengineering. In 1997, he was responsible for the development of the online computerized registration system, Online CRS in UP Diliman, the first online web-based registration system in the country. At the same time, he served as assistant professor in UP Diliman, teaching computer science, information systems, and software engineering. In 2001, and for 9 years, he served as chief information officer and vice president for IT of a large private firm with diverse business operations in the country and abroad. At present, Director Paje is a senior lecturer at the UP Technology Management Center. He is also the director of the UP Information Technology Development Center, UP ITDC is the IT group of the entire UP system and is responsible for maintaining the IT infrastructure and systems of the university. Moreover, ITDC is also the public service unit of UP that offers government-to-government IT services. Director Pahe has earned his bachelor's degree in computer science from the UP Los Baños and received his master's degree in technology management in UP Diliman. Ladies and gentlemen, our moderator and guest speakers for this session. I will turn this over to our moderator, Dr. Epictetus Patalinghog.
Hello, I cannot have my video. The host now.
Share screen. Share screen.
Video ito.
Share screen. Let's not start it. Yan. Yan.
Yes.
Click the PowerPoint.
Okay, sorry for the technological glitch. Good afternoon. Hello, can you hear me? Okay, now the topic for this afternoon session is about digital transformation in government, business, and the academy. But what is digital transformation? So how it is how is it defined? This is the definition of digital transformation. The process of using digital technologies in order to improve existing processes or create new ones or improve existing culture, basically to meet public service requirements, business requirements, and academic requirements. So digital transformation is the reimagining of government, business, and academic and the academic in the digital age. Digital transformation is the adoption of digital technology by an organization in business, in government, in the academy, to improve the value of the organization's processes for its customers and stakeholders. Now, what is the purpose of digital transformation? The main purpose of digital transformation is to improve current processes. Digital transformation is also important for government in order to improve their delivery of public services. Digital transformation is important for business to improve its competitiveness and to be able to survive in the industry. Digital transformation is important for the academic because the creation of a cohesive digital ecosystem will allow the universities and the academy to build a cohesive and engage the community of faculty, students, staff, alumni, parents, and donors in order which are the personalities that understand the value and the aspirations of the universities in society. And finally, before the introduction of the speakers, what are the 4 areas of digital transformation? And there are process transformation, business model transformation, like what Grab, Airbnb are doing, domain transformation, and cultural organizational transformation. So how do we convert an organization from a stone rock store to an online store? This is a big cultural change. Let me introduce the sequence of topics in this session. So, USEC and Undersecretary Rose Idelion, USEC and Dr. Rose Idelion will discuss the digital experience in government, particularly the implementation of the first digital ID system. Greg Kamatsu will elaborate on the digital experience in business, particularly the Grab experience in the food delivery technology. Dr. Arnel will talk about the automation of business processes in the academy. And Director Paolo will present the digital experience, the other side of the academy, on smart campuses, flexible learning, and mediocre students. No, I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. Smart campuses and flexible learning. So finally, these are the guidelines for this session. Each speaker, starting with Dr. Yusek Ross, will be given 10 minutes to present their topic or their paper. Second, participants are requested to raise their questions during the open forum part of this session. And lastly, participants, if you may want to take notes of your questions, you can use the chat feature of Zoom in order to ask your questions while the speaker is still discussing the topic. Okay, can we start with Yusek Rose?
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you very much, Doc Epi. And thank you also to the other esteemed speakers. First of all, I'd like to thank the UP and the DOST for arranging this for this engineering research development technology congress. It's really very opportune. I think that is the understatement of the day, but but it's really important that we get to have this discussion. Unfortunately, I will not be discussing actually about the digital ID. I'm sorry for the miscommunication, but I'll be discussing about the digital transformation in government and actually how we need to really engineer that for not just for government for but for all sectors of society. Secretariat, I'll be sharing my screen. Yeah, so may I ask first if you're able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, thank you very much. So this is really about, you know, earlier, thank you very much to Professor Epi for giving us the basics, the definitions of what do we really mean by digitalization and a digital transformation. So when you talk of government, and I'm at NEDA, we're not really an implementing agency, but we do. Especially myself, I'm involved in policy and planning, and I would like to discuss some more about really undergoing this digital transformation, because what we really want at this point in time, first of all, is a recovery, not just any economic recovery. We want it to be a resilient economic recovery towards ambition natin 2040. So first, I would like to share with you our very concise scanning of what the new normal will be. So this is actually taken from a paper that we produced last year, a document that we produced last year, which is We Recover as One. So under the new normal, this is your general context. First is that physical distancing will still be observed, face covering required. There will be strict hygiene and sanitation protocols, more outdoor than indoor activities, sporadic and granular lockdowns possible. We're doing the pilot now. And always remembering that COVID-19 threat will be foremost in the minds of individuals. And so even though we do not really put in those restrictions, I think many people will still have that fear of COVID-19 in their minds. And then more specifically, with respect to fundamental changes in demand, we see here that with respect to household demand, there will be higher demand for health products, but more so but also for internet, for electronics, gadgets. For government, there will be higher demand also for digital connectivity, the electronics equipment, and of course for healthcare, social protection. For investment demand, there will be higher demand for that digital, the physical and the digital connectivity. And so for delivery vans, for digital connectivity, electronics equipment, storage facilities, etc. And for the export demand, there will be higher demand for electronics equipment, and we're already seeing this now, and also for the healthcare. So these are the two things actually that will be in high demand, both domestically and also coming from the rest of the world. Digital connectivity and also your health boosting goods. Now, other things happening here is that going forward, 2022 going onwards, probably until 3 years hence, for the health and environment, there will still be that COVID-19, and of course, climate change is not it's not really going away. For economic trends, we're seeing a weaker economic outlook, slower global trade amid shifts in supply chains and rising protectionism. Although we are seeing, we will also be seeing, increased trade in with respect to health, with respect to electronics. Global investment flows will remain below pre-pandemic levels. sovereign debt levels to rise significantly. So many governments have been going into debt, Philippines included, and broad-based monetary easing bias, at least over the medium term, short term. And then on political trends, we're already seeing this rising populism, separatism, and even geopolitical tensions, even right here in our neighborhood. Social and demographic trends, we're seeing aging and shrinking populations in some regions. Demographic window is opening for some other regions, like in the Philippines as well. Migration remittance flows are expected to decline sharply in the medium term, but longer term factors are likely to persist. So in the case of the Philippines, we're seeing that migration flows with respect to the health professionals are actually very robust, and so with the remittance flows that are associated with our OFWs who are in the healthcare sector. Technological trends, technologies for the next production revolution is actually given a new momentum. It's really given a boost. We have the rise of the artificial intelligence and automation, digital technologies in the new normal. So, given this, we did some, some scenarios here where, of course, this is the subject of this Congress is a digital government, having a digital government, and let's have another event here, which is on economic recovery. What are the possibilities that we're seeing here? The interplay of a digital government and the economic recovery. So, a government that is able to transform itself or that is able to transition to a digital government is, and then if you have a strong economic recovery, then that means that it could probably be a sustained recovery, because this means that you are actually aligned with the new normal, where there is the need still for physical distancing, and therefore there's that stronger possibility that the recovery would be sustained. There will be a big innovation push. And in fact, even now, as already mentioned, government has been paving the way actually for this digital transformation, not only of government but for the entire society, with the implementation of the national ID. The national ID will actually mean that by next year, almost all Filipinos, or at least all Filipino adults, will have a digital footprint. And so this will actually be a very, very big push towards a digital economy for the entire Philippines, not just for government, for the entire Philippines. Next, this big innovation push is only made possible if you really have a responsive government. If you have a government that is able to really lead the way and really be able to steer actually all these development actors towards this digital transformation. Now, what about the case where you have, government is able to go digital, but the economic recovery is still weak? There, you have a weak economic recovery. And what we're seeing here is an innovation reluctance. You have a digital government and yet a weak economic recovery. It can only be because you have a detached government, meaning government has gone on with this digital transformation. Okay, we are implementing this digital ID, but the private sector has not caught on. It has not actually undertaken its own digital transformation. And if that is what will happen, then it will be a very weak recovery. I don't think it can be sustained. Now, what about the case where you have, you're able to muster an economic recovery, but government has not really transformed into being a digital government? Therefore, you can probably have a volatile recovery, because remember, the threat of COVID-19 will still be foremost in the minds of our of Filipinos here. And therefore, there will always be that case. And of course, you will still have your granular lockdowns. And because some transactions, especially when you transact with government, it's still, the old face-to-face processes. And therefore, you will have this volatile recovery. And then government actually will be an innovation drag. And this is also not what we want to happen. What we want is that government will actually lead the way and give that big innovation push. Of course, the worst case scenario is one where we will not be able to recover and government has not transformed into a digital government, and therefore we will be left behind. And therefore, this is actually the scenario we want. So this actually means that digital transformation in government is not the end all and be all. So it must be the case that this digital transformation in government should really pave the way for the entire society to really go into this digital transformation. I would like to share with you, this is still a draft, innovation agenda strategy framework, where here at the top is our goal, which is Ambisyon Natin 2040, where every Filipino is able to enjoy a matatag, maginhawa at panatag na buhay. And then we see here that these are the things that need to happen. So it's not just about government transforming itself into a digital government, but it's really about making sure that the institutions, the policy, and the regulations, meaning to say with respect to the financing, the infrastructure, the technology, and innovation culture, it must be in such a way that this governance is really encouraging and facilitating this innovation ecosystem. Because in the end, what we want to happen is we will have proactive, smart, and innovative people, a competitive and resilient economy, and an efficient and sustainable environment. We have identified for now 7 systems wherein these innovations will really have to happen so that we can be resilient. So that first we will have the economic recovery, and second that it will be sustained all the way to 2040. Let me just share with you how we see it happening in the healthcare sector. So I have here 4 scenarios, where one scenario is, it's a twilight, all invention and no infrastructure. And here you have government funding on healthcare being confined to R&D only. The problem though is you don't have the hard and soft infrastructure, and there's limited partnership. Then you have also the too many catastrophes, the raging storm, where you have fragmented initiatives within the private sector. And this one is also, well, you will have innovation initiatives, but because they're very fragmented, they do not achieve the economies of scale. And therefore, the healthcare system remains weak, chaotic, and vulnerable to many risks. Now, there are 2 kind of good scenarios, but of course, this other one is the best scenario. This one is where we have the torch or productive red tape, where the public sector is proactive in healthcare system from ideation to diffusion. And people are generally healthy and have the option to choose affordable healthcare products and services suited to their needs. And you have healthcare entrepreneurs and startups that are thriving. But the best one is one where you have university partnerships. So there's always this co-creation between the ideas, the innovation, the policy, and of course, those what I have mentioned earlier, the financing, and also the collaboration, the ecosystem for innovation to happen. And in this case, you will have society experiencing dramatic positive changes in the healthcare system with a greater participation of the academe and the private sector. Knowledge and technology generation are on an exponential increase and duly translated to full commercialization and utilization. And you will have the spillovers for further innovation activities, which then cause a leapfrog in the healthcare system. And therefore, with respect to this digital transformation. So it should not just happen in government. It should actually, like I said, pave the way towards the digital transformation of the entire society. Academe has a big role to play, and we need that partnership to really be nurtured, and again to be trailblazing in all this. All the while, through all this, we have to be reminded of what our end goal is. Our ambition is really for every Filipino to enjoy this matatag, maginhawa, at panatag na buhay. And we have seen that there could be many, many challenges along the way, and all the more reason that we really need to undertake this digital transformation. So for those doing their research, so I urge you to have this strong collaboration, university, the private sector, and the public sector, and let's all work together. Let's all work together to have this digital transformation, have all these innovations happening, not just in government, not just in the university, but in all those systems that we need to improve. And so that's it. And thank you very much for listening. Let's all work towards the ambition natin 2040. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ross. Can we have Greg Kamatsu?
Yeah, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, Doc Epi, should I just start?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So let me share my screen. All right. So yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Again, Doc Epi, thank you for the introduction earlier. And I just want to say it's truly an honor to be sharing the virtual stage with such an accomplished group of people, both in the university, academe, and government sectors. I also want to start by thanking everyone who's joining us today. Thank you for joining us here, because you could be doing anything, right? But you're right here, and for that, I'm truly grateful. So today I'm going to be talking about going digital with Grab, as the topic is about digitalization. So to start, let's talk about the changing landscape that we find ourselves in. So I just pulled out a couple of figures here for everyone. To start, food delivery has grown. A recent study was released saying that food delivery in Southeast Asia grew 183% from 2019 to 2020. So in the Philippines alone, for the year, that means food delivery expenditure contributed 1.1 billion US dollars to the economy. So definitely COVID-19 has changed how we do things. And just some other quick fire numbers here to give you all context. In GrabFood alone, the number of our active users in the Philippines doubled from 2019 to 2020. What we saw was home cooked meals increased 14%, as well as meals ordered using delivery services. Another interesting fact, self-pickup, where eaters go to a restaurant to pick up their food that they've ordered previously, grew by 72% from April to December 2020. So what we see, that over 1/3 of meals consumed in the Philippines are through dine out, delivery, or takeaway. And 3 in 10 of those orders, or of those meals, are through food delivery. So definitely we see the landscape changing in terms of the food industry. So the pandemic has accelerated the shift of consumers online, and we believe this to be a trend that will be permanent. In particular, it has impacted a lot of our MSMEs. So a lot of our small, medium businesses and restaurants, they've had to change how they conduct business. So after the lockdowns were imposed, in-store visits drop, foot traffic drop, and they've had to find alternative ways in order to serve consumers. And so what we've seen is a lot of these businesses have chosen to go digital through platforms such as Grab. So after talking about the overall landscape of the industry, let's talk about understanding our consumers. and what changes we've seen. All right, so the first question to ask is, who are these consumers? So what we've seen is a lot of our consumers, actually young families, around 65% are in the 25 to 44-year-old range. Over half are married with kids. Over half also with household incomes greater than 30,000 a month. And on average, a household will have 4 to 5 members. So this is like the market that we're targeting, or we're seeing at least. So other than that, we have seen some new consumption behaviors that have been surfacing. Again, I'm going to go through a couple of interesting facts here. First one, pizza and cake, very popular in the Philippines. Pizza was searched 6 million times on GrabFood in 2020, while cake orders grew 2.6 times from 2019 to 2020. I think no surprise here, a lot of the orders still come in during lunch and dinner. But interesting is that we see Filipinos actually ordering more each time they do a transaction. So there's a 35% increase in the basket size, particularly for breakfast, but you see this trend across all meal times. Coffee and tea also grew 2.3x. And this may not come as a surprise to many, but milk tea is still very much a Filipino favorite. So we see around 4 milk tea orders being placed every minute during merienda in 2020. Some other things on the right here, you see people have started to become more health conscious. From healthy food and beverage businesses, we've seen a 4 times increase in their transactions. Also, order basket sizes have grown around 31%. And then in general, what we've been seeing is that the Filipino consumer will look at maybe 2 to 3 restaurants before they decide which to place an order for. So yeah, what we've seen here is a collection, a bevy of different changes in consumption behaviors. And the question now is, as we move on to, as we've accelerated like the digital landscape and how we do business, how do we take advantage of these opportunities? Before I move on, I will pause for maybe 5 seconds. A lot of the information you just saw will be available in the Consumer Trends Report, the first one that we released. So if you are interested to learn more, you can just scan this code and download the report for yourself. So this one we were able to do using data and through the help of some third-party data analytics companies. Okay. So let's move on. All right, so as mentioned, now we move on to using data to drive merchant success. So data trends are very important because it allows us to understand changes and shifts in the business environment that we operate in. And being able to observe these and make adjustments allows us to adapt to these changes, allows us to innovate for growth, and allows us to create more value. So right now, what I will do is I will be sharing some of the things that we've done or we've offered to our merchant partners in order to ensure that they are successful in this new normal. So if you're a Grab food merchant, you will have the Grab Merchant app. So this will be on your device. And part of this is our Grab Merchant portal. So a lot of as part of the ecosystem, when your orders are placed, they come in through this app, and this is how you fulfill it. But I want to talk a bit more about the Grab Merchant portal, which we've really been pushing in order to help our merchants. So one of the new features that we released is called the Insights tool. So this presents merchants with a lot of the data coming from all of their orders and transactions. So as you can see here, you see breakdown according to your customers, sales, purchase frequency. And these are things that you can use to make informed business decisions in order to improve your operations and even your offerings. So if we move on a bit more here, as a merchant, you are able to track your sales and order performance. So as you see here, we give access to you being able to see what your gross net sales are, number of payments. On the lower left here, you see which peak hours you have, so which times of the day and which days do you perform the best. And on the lower right here, you see which menu items actually are ordered the most. And so an idea here is, if you see two items that are ordered a lot together, then maybe you do a bundle, and doing that bundle actually increases your basket size or your average order value. So yeah, this is something that we have made available to the merchant partners. And not just that. So as I showed earlier, it's very important to understand which customers or consumers you are catering to. So through this tool, you're also able to understand your customer profiles, right? So what's the general age or gender of the people who order from you? Which locations do you get a lot of your orders? Are there locations that you're not serving or underserving in which you probably would need to put up another branch? So yeah, this again is something that we believe would be very helpful for merchants as they cross over into the digital channels. Again, and then another feature, of course, is feedback. Very important to understand how your consumers are reacting to your offerings. So through this way, we believe that merchants are best served if they are constantly getting feedback and improving. And so this is something made available to merchants as well, in order for them to understand, in which aspects do they have to be improving on. Is it taste? Is it packaging? Is it price? And yeah, this is paired up with when consumers do their ratings. And so merchants, again, are able to access this information. Now, another thing that, we've been pushing for is our Grab Academy. So again, very important to us for all of our partners to keep learning, to keep improving. And so the Grab Academy, which is in the merchant app, allows merchants to find best tips, understand trends, allows them to improve their businesses, again, in order for them to increase sales and thrive in the new normal. So the last section of my presentation today is about adapting to the new normal. In particular, what have we at Grab been doing in order to adapt and serve our consumers better? So I think the first and probably the most important thing, expectations for safety and hygiene standards have been raised. So obviously, health is very, very much at the forefront of a lot of consumers' minds, and so we've done a bunch of initiatives in order to address that, in order to give peace of mind to consumers. So you see here Grab Protect, which is a partnership with some brands that we did to ensure that the highest in safety and hygiene standards, are presented in the food delivery platform. For example, we were the first food delivery platform to have contactless delivery, and also we have done things like the driver mask selfie or the temperature check, where drivers have to send a photo of themselves wearing a mask and also their temperatures at certain times. So with this Safer Meals initiative, what we've also done here is partnered with Unilever to get some hygiene and cleaning kits that we distributed to merchants and to delivery partners as well. The other thing is we partnered with the Food Safety and Hygiene Academy of the Philippines. So we're offering specialized learning modules for proper food handling to our merchant partners for safety. And I think on the lower right here, very interesting, something I'm personally very proud of. We have been partnering with a lot of LGUs with our Back to Normal campaign. So this one is trying to get our delivery partners fully vaccinated. So through our partnerships, as of right now, we have 75% of our delivery partners with at least one dose. And yeah, I think this is something that we're really pushing to, get completed as soon as possible. The other thing is consumers are looking for a convenient way to access their favorite food. Obviously, with the event of the lockdowns, it's been difficult for people to move around. As mentioned earlier, we will be seeing granular lockdowns. And so one of the innovations that we put out was long distance deliveries. So for example, for merchants, you do get a certain radii around which orders will be able to be placed for you. And so what we did was we expanded this radii. And so now, for example, if you live in Katipunan, you're able to place an order for a restaurant in Makati. So this was one of the things that we did to improve merchant selection for the consumers, as well as improve the sales for the merchant partners. Oh, and the very last thing I want to bring up is cloud kitchens. So, some of you may have heard about the concept of virtual kitchens or cloud kitchens. Essentially, the whole concept here is you think of like a warehouse with just kitchens where you put merchants in. There's no dine-in, no tables, chairs, and it's really purely just for deliveries. So three things I want to talk about here. First one is it's a lot of value for the consumers because it improves with merchant selection. The idea behind this before we launched it here in the Philippines was, are there cuisines that are being underserved in certain areas? Like in Quezon City, did we need a better ramen place or a better chicken place? And the other thing is we have a product called Mix and Match where you're actually able to order from different restaurants using one delivery fee. So that again, we've seen has been adding a lot of value for consumers. On the merchant side, it's actually a great way to expand your business without having to pay a lot on capital expenses. Because for this one, you don't need to put up, structures. You don't need to decorate it, buy tables, chairs. For a fee, a fee that you pay, you're able to gain access to a kitchen, which then, through the Grab system also helps you fulfill your orders. And the other thing is it's actually been, we have a lot of case studies about merchants that, started with one or two branches and now have, expanded maybe to 5, 6, and they've been expanding with their cloud kitchens. So currently we have 6 cloud kitchens in the Philippines. So we have one in Makati, 2 in Manila, 1 in Parañaque, 1 in Pasig, and 1 in QC that we soft launched this week. So this again is one of those things that we're going to be pushing more towards. So yeah, I don't think we have time for the video. I'm just going to skip this one. And yeah, I think, again, if anyone's interested to just kind of see what we're doing on the environmental, social, and governance front, you can download the report here on this link. But yeah, before I end, I just again want to say thank you for the invite. I think it's really cool. Just want to mirror the sentiment of Yusek Rosemary, right? I think it's really great that we're all getting together, from different facets, right? From business, public, private, academe. And yeah, hopefully later, if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them during the open forum.
Okay.
So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Can we have Dr. Arnel?
Yes. Good afternoon. Can I have my video on permission? Thank you. While they're fixing the video on permission, I'd like to thank Professor River and Professor FP for that wonderful introduction and setting the tone for our discussion for this afternoon. Right? Thank you. Yeah. We have heard a lot about government and also about business, and I think it's also the business of Academe to be part of the digital transformation that we have. So allow me this afternoon to share the journey of DLSU with respect to one of its major projects, which we have started even before the pandemic hit us. And perhaps this afternoon, it may serve as an inspiration for us to take a look at how we can transform digitally and use the digital platform for us to continue our service to the next generation. Right? So let me begin by taking a look at the 6 P's of the DLSU digital transformation journey. The first one is all about the project. Now, the project, as Dr. River already mentioned, is entitled Between. Between stands for Banner Initiative to Unify, Integrate, and Navigate. It's actually a big project that seeks to implement an ERP system and try to make our systems more integrated and more holistic in terms of its approach to streamlining the processes and also enhancing the services that we have. Moreover, we wanted to make sure that we have only one source of truth for all the data and all the process improvements and statistics that we have in our university. So the project includes the transformation of 3 important domains. One is called financial management. Second is actually our life cycle or student life cycle system. And the third is actually our human resource system. Now, part of this transformation is also the transformation of our information technology services unit, because we wanted to make sure that we have somehow a sustainable organization to be able to implement and sustain these transformation. And of course, it's not just the domain that we are after, it's also the timeline that we have. Initially, we started this July of 2018, and we envisioned a 3-year timeline for all of these 3 major domains being integrated and being implemented. We followed the TOGAF principle on trying to take a look at the timeline from an enterprise architecture standpoint. That's our starting point, to map out all the different softwares, programs, whether it's online or on-prem, that we have. And that's actually where we all began in 2018. We finished this in April 2019, and thus began our awarding and contracting for possible partners in the transformation of our 3 systems. Now, we are currently in the ERP implementation stage, and as you may know, we are actually in the implementation when the pandemic hit. The challenge for us to digitally transform is there, but equally challenging was actually to really meet online and try now to have the discussion on process improvements and even streamlining all of this, all done online without any face-to-face. The last part of our project timeline is actually the value realization, where we take a look at the KPIs that we have set at the beginning. Now, one of the things that we did differently in this digital transformation is to help us, guide us in terms of making the right decision. We agreed first off with certain principles that will govern us. These are some of the principles. There were 11 principles that we have identified from the beginning. And these are some of the things that we considered in making that decision on how to make the transformation a reality. One is business-driven architecture. So the business of serving our community is primordial in our consideration. Technology independence, or being agnostic to the kind of technology that we're offering, is also one, because that's somehow a path that we believe can be sustained moving forward. Using process as a glue for reorganizing becomes an integral part that is coupled with the mantra of no one left behind, which means that we wanted to make sure that our people are also trained in discipline to embrace the change and handle the new technologies that we will actually be doing. So the first is the project, what it is all about, and second is what guides us, what actually gives us direction for making certain decisions. One of the key decisions that we have done is actually the platform decision. And in our request for proposals, we evaluated all proposals based on our need from the enterprise architecture point of view. And we decided to do the best of breed approach to making these 3 systems be integrated. And the best of breed means that we are not going to subscribe to only one provider or platform, but it's actually going to be 3 of them together, and that we will integrate on our own. And second was actually the decision to also consider that our digital transformation brings that particular business processes to the cloud. And this is where the cloud-based platforms were decided on versus the on-prem version. So all 3 domains are now on the cloud, and that's what we are actually implementing and deciding on. The fourth is actually the more critical part. While you have a platform, it's actually the streamlining and the making our processes more efficient that drives this. And equally challenging was actually, it was during the pandemic that we were finalizing some of our redesigned, streamlined processes and documenting them using what we have identified and crafted as our process architecture. So it is actually deliberately designed from the beginning from an architectural perspective. Aside from process streamlining, we also need to take a look at the people that we are actually going to be working with, and thus embark an OD transformation for our people. equipping them, and empowering them. So the project is not complete with just the technical components of the platform and the processes, but likewise, it includes a communication team, a change management team, and drafting of a competency framework for the reorganization and the transformation of our human resource, functional organizations, likewise considering finance and the creation of our supply chain management office in lieu of our procurement office. Now, these people will actually play a critical part, and we are still in the process of upskilling some of our people to empower them to use these particular domains and solutions to the problems that we have. Last but not the least, the sixth P that we have is all about performance, delivering what we have initiated. The project at the get-go aimed to improve the collaboration and the workflows. In other words, to integrate a holistic way of serving our community and enhancing efficiency and customer service, providing better data quality and data security, and of course, standardizing the processes. In fact, our value realization stage answers the question what the university users want. And we have developed key metrics on how we're able to manage this as we went live for some of them. So where are we in all of this today? Remember, we started in 2018 with an enterprise architecture study and design, and now we have already implemented our ongoing transformation of the key business processes that we have. Now, these are the three processes that we have. We went live first with our financial, and that's where the Oracle Fusion went live last April 2021. Followed closely by our HR, which went live just last month, and we followed the Ramco SumTotal solution for our HRIS. To follow next is actually our digital transformation for student life cycle, which we target to go live by January 2022. And that allows us now to integrate all of this using an ESB or Enterprise Service Bus, and likewise Process Maker as part of our BPMS or Business Process Management System for workflow management. Now, all of this architecture is actually designed so that our digital transformation, especially with our business processes, are also linked with our academic research and all the other applications that we have. This is not to say that we have not done anything about academics. In fact, we have went to the clouds first in the academic space when we decided to go for Canvas for our learning management system even before the pandemic. And that's a long journey that we have taken from the time that we started this more than a decade ago. Now, in terms of the other systems, we're mapping and sunsetting some of them so that we will integrate all of them into the enterprise service bus for all the systems to be linked, integrated, and managed efficiency. Now, this is actually very tiring and very, very challenging for most of us. So part of our transformation is actually going to look back and take a look at what we have done as one of the consideration for a transformation journey that takes this long. We always kid ourselves and say that this is not a 100-meter dash, but a marathon. Not to mention the marathon Zoom meetings that we have. That's why perhaps just to end our sharing for this afternoon, let me just share with you two things that kept us going, and we call that the SELA stops in our transformation. The SELA stop allows us now to recover and reflect on what is essential. And I like to quote two people in this particular slide. One was what Dwight Eisenhower said before, and that in preparing for any battle, a transformation of this magnitude, I've always found that plans are useless. In fact, it is. When we started this in 2018, we never planned for a pandemic or to do this online, right? But planning was indispensable. That's the reason why the spirit behind this transformation kept us going. It was the planning, the reflective learning, and our resolve to continue on despite the challenges. In fact, that's why Soren Kierkegaard actually reminds us that life can be understood backwards. True, right? Looking back, connecting the dots, but we must live forwards. And that's why the transformation looks at a forward or a future that is brighter, a future that will help us improve the way we do work and serve our community and society at large. So that is part of our transformation journey. And I'm happy to share this stage with equally dashing speakers from Grab, which we patronize, Greg, and of course, Yusek Rose earlier, which we support the government transformation. Thank you very much and good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Arnel, for your passionate presentation. I hope you'll be the next Chancellor of De La Salle, Manila.
Give my regards to Dr. Y.
Now, can we have Director Paulo? Can we listen now to Director Paulo?
Thank you, Professor Epi, my professor at the Technology Management Center. Sir, good afternoon. Please allow me to share my PowerPoint slide. So for today, I'm going to speak about smart campuses and flexible learning. But first and foremost, I would like to express my profound gratitude to Professor Dean Manigdeg, who is leading our ERDT, and of course, Professor Patalinghog, my superior, Dr. Elvira Zamora. I would like to express his regards to you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so for today, I'm going to speak about smart campuses and flexible learning. I head the Information Technology Development Center, which is right now the IT group of the University of the Philippines System, under which there are different campuses and constituent universities. And so I will begin by sharing with you some sort of an outline to give us a path into this talk. I will begin discussing about the rationale, the imperative, why we need smart campuses and flexible learning. And together with this, it is but proper but to mention also the enablers as well as the issues and challenges related to smart campuses and flexible learning. And these theoretical principles and topics related to this will not really resonate without touching the experience of the university. So please allow me later to share the UP experience related to establishing a smart campus together, how we implemented flexible learning. And then the value of this talk will never be felt without sharing with you the different challenges as well as the success factors, which are very important if we are to use UP as a model for our digital transformation, specifically related to smart campuses and flexible learning. My understanding, we are joined today by colleagues from the different universities and schools, and hopefully we can impart to you significant takeaways related to the smart campus initiatives of the university as well as flexible learning efforts. And then finally at the end, just to retain some of the principles, the sharing, I will make a short recap. So let me start now with the introduction of Smart Campus and later flexible learning. Just for everyone to be on the same page, I'm using the CHED memorandum order defining what this Smart Campus is all about. So CHED is speaking about spaces where the higher education institutions would use next generation digital technologies. We are very much aware that the seamless interconnectivity afforded by digital technologies is very much crucial in processing, in generation of data analytics that are important so that we will be able to enhance, according to this, teaching and learning, research and extension, as well as to improve operational efficiency. Precisely, this is very reflective of the university because UP was given the mandate of doing education, research, and public service. And then for flexible learning, which we experience right now heavily, we talk about pedagogical approach, allowing flexibility in terms of the following elements: time, place, the audience, including, and we have to take note, not solely focused on the use of technology. And that is really very true, because in our experience, 20% of all the efforts will be focused on technology, and the remaining 80% will now be on non-technical issues. So we're talking about the audience, we're talking about timelines, all the sort of things relevant to the efficient rollout of flexible learning. Now we go to the imperative why we have chosen to adopt flexible learning, as well as we plan for establishing smart campuses. As you understand, UP has several campuses. We are located in major areas of the country. But prior to pandemic, we already recognized the need for these smart campuses. Of course, we recognize that it would provide us with better education for our students. For our researchers, I am sure that they would value the critical, data that they process as well as they generate. And for our students, which is the major stakeholders of the university, of course, we would like to have them this enhanced, improved student experience. We no longer talk about customer satisfaction, but we speak of customer enlightenment or delight. So that is more, reflective of the scenario. And then, of course, the Smart Campus, our intention, our goal is really to provide operational efficiency. There is this notion that being a state university, we are inefficient. We have already veered away from that, and there are many initiatives related to improving our processes, including the transactions that we provide to our stakeholders. Importantly, we focus on how we will achieve operational efficiency. And very recently, this imperative is very much felt. I'm sure that you can relate to this. We are now going into the new normal. So I cannot expound more on this, because I'm sure we have experienced a lot of anxiety and stress related to this new normal. Now, talking about the enablers, so we would ask the question, why do we have this? Why is it important that we deploy smart campuses? Why are we going to adopt flexible learning? We identified several. I'm sure there are other elements or enablers, but major to this list would be the following. IT is one. We have seen the progression of IT from the very basic form of IT, information technologies. It has advanced significantly, and very recently, the pervasiveness, the encompassing reach of the internet has really dominated the way we do things. And then, of course, aside from IT, we have also seen the convergence of technology. So we do not only speak about IT, but we are talking about biotechnology, nanotechnology, and all those these sort of things. I'm sure that Professor Epi, being a teacher of technology management, has imparted a lot about convergence of technology. He taught us about technological innovation. And that was the subject of Professor Epi. And then right now, we have also seen agile teaching methods. We have seen many professors adapting, being innovative in terms of the way they deliver their lessons, materials, but definitely we are adapting to this mode, which is agile. On the basis of the factors that we see from the environment, we adapt. We have to compete, because if our students are going into Facebook, the social media, one way or the other, our teachers, our professors will have to adapt to this kind of technology. And then we have also a workforce that is relatively digitally enabled compared, 5 or 10 years ago. And the imperative is also very clear, and this one is also an enabler of this, the emergence of smart campuses. We now speak of data and analytics. To some extent, we now speak of big data processing, and we also have artificial intelligence. Now, these are all elements that contributed in embracing smart campuses, adopting it, and also, of course, the flexible learning. And evidently, right now, I cannot express more about this, but pretty sure you know that the disruptive times have forced all of us to adopt technology and to really rethink the way we would like to implement our smart campuses, how we will adopt it, as well as to resort to flexible learning. Now, definitely the literatures and the books and also in UP, there are many issues and challenges that we confront. So we have listed here our Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Bautista, for the many months now. She was talking about pedagogies, the modalities of delivery, the challenges confronted by our teachers, our professors. We also speak about the contents, the readiness of resources, and also there's a challenge related to assessment. How effective do we assess, the process of assessing our students? And then we see also not only in the higher education sector, but also in elementary as well as in high school, basic ed, there are challenges related to parental support. So the parents are given the task of assisting their children. But the question is, are the parents really equipped intellectually and emotionally to handle this kind of things, assisting their children? And then, of course, DepEd and CHED, they are also talking about the preparedness of learners. And the last item here is the preparedness of teachers, even in UP. We have heard a lot of issues, challenges related to how prepared our teachers, related to the delivery of, say, lessons, the preparation of course packs. So this list is really long. I have another slide now talking about the additional issues confronted by our stakeholders. So I'm talking about students, administrators, researchers, together with the faculty members. I'm sure that Dean Manignig is also bombarded with a lot of issues related to this, institutional support, and there is a big question mark about students having access to technology. And unfortunately, there are faculty members who are still struggling in getting access to technology. Our state of connectivity is another issue, a major issue right now. Telecommunication companies, the services that they provide. And so we are really prayerful and hopeful that DICT and other government agencies would really be very proactive in pursuing projects, initiatives that would strengthen and enhance the scope and the depth of our connectivity. And last but not the least, we have the issues, the challenges related to delivery channels. I speak of the course packs that must be transmitted to our students that cannot be reached using the existing internet infrastructure. So the manner in which they are going to receive these course packs will be through the various modes of delivery, delivery channels. So that is not so effective in some parts of the country. So these are just few, though I presented 2 slides of issues and challenges. And so with this, I'm sure that you are aware that the university is not also immune from this lots of issues and challenges related to the establishment of smart campuses and of course the delivery of or implementing flexible learning. So let me now go to the meat of my topic, which is more about how we are doing in UP. What is our experience? Now, this point of view would be, of course, very subjective because I'm, looking at the technology, the technical side of the implementation. But please allow me to give you a glimpse of what we are doing, what we have in UP. Right now, the campuses, there are like 8 major constituent universities. We are powered through this backbone. So we are availing of the services of DOS3 through PredGenet. That is the research and education network. It's still existing. And then we also subscribe to a corporate service, which is from Converge. So the total bandwidth consumed by the university pre-pandemic is at 7,770. So that is a good number, a lucky number, 7770 Mbps. So that is the amount of bandwidth supplied to all of the satellite campuses as well as the major campuses of the university. Through the many years of heavily investing into IT, The university was also able to roll out various technologies like fiber optic network system. So we have replaced the conventional coaxial cable, that is the Jurassic technology related to wide area network and local area networks. We have deployed Wi-Fi access points in many of our academic and research buildings so that our students will freely and readily access our internet facilities. We also rolled out many security appliances because we are also fearful that cyber attacks will not only come from the outside, but more importantly, we expect that students will try to outsmart our network system, our information system. So that's the very reason we have really invested a lot on our security appliances. And then we have been using the voice over IP telecommunication system. And some of the buildings, they have already installed smart technologies. Very recently, we have partnered with PayMaya so that the identification cards of our students will be powered with RFID technology. So that is something that was disrupted because of the pandemic. But the rollout is continuing as we speak. So all of these initiatives were done, thankfully, prior to COVID, the pandemic period. So I can say safely that the university went into this period, this global emergency, with some sort of preparedness, maybe compared relative to the other schools. Forgive me for being, this is something that I would like to share to everyone. And right now, UP is not maintaining its own storage systems. We veered away from in-house hosting of our machines precisely because from time to time we experience problems, issues with, internet, the electrical supply, and then even the air conditioning systems would be problematic. And we cannot immediately replace it without going through the usual government procurement process. So all of this, these servers are now stored and maintained in Amazon Web Service, the cloud infra of Amazon. And we are now maintaining terabytes of data storage. Our enrollment and major management support systems are all stored in AWS, together with our websites and all online applications being maintained by the university. Now, generally talking about high-level deployment of IS in UP towards the goal of building a smart campus, we have acquired many information systems and we were able to group it into three. We have the Academic Information System, or SAIS, we have the UIS, and we have the teaching and learning system, which are all very, very useful nowadays. So for the student academic information system, we can see here that almost all important systems needed for running the university is here. From, say, admission, going to UPRA application. So these are all made available using this infra. Okay. Now for UIS, we have also invested here a lot. So our FMIS, this is our financial system. We have also the supplies and procurement. We have also the HR, the DTS, which is very useful nowadays, to the extent that our university record system are also maintained in our UIS. Now, the university is also utilizing our Canvas LMS, but there are campuses using the UVLE, which is a model-based learning management system. And very recently, because we have problems monitoring our research projects, specifically those funded by CHED, we now deploy the research project management system. So all of this are packaged into one, and we call it the UIS. Now, the next group of applications, we have it here. This is very important. Now we call it the teaching and learning system. We have the LMS, which is the Canvas and the Moodle. The other one that you have seen, we're also using it for our employees. So the training of employees, is also done using a learning management system. And an institutional license was also acquired so that we would have the video conferencing system, which is Zoom. And you can see from this list, there are other software being deployed or are deployed so that our students and faculty members can use. No? This is our very recent acquisition. We have the ArcGIS, the SPSS, and we have the NVivo. And together with this, we also acquired Adobe Cloud. So these are all the software that are being utilized now, and we believe that in the next coming months and years, we will continue to use the system. Now, the infra of the university, we know that UP has many initiatives related to database creation as well as maintenance. So we have agreed that all of this will have to be bundled together and that they would talk to each other by way of a technology, which we call API. And so at the end of the day, the idea is that our information systems will be cohesive, that they will all be interoperable, integrated, and of course, we cannot, operate without establishing the reliability and the security of our information system. Now, similar to our friend from DLSU, we also made, journey into this digital transformation efforts, but it was not an easy path. So as far as I can recall, there were initiatives already prior to 1995 and so on until 2008. But the majority of the efforts were implemented during the time of President Alfredo Pascual in 2013. We launched a big IT project, and we have rolled out many of these information systems. So the UP was quite lucky because this is the period prior to the pandemic. So our ERP, which we call UIS, was created at the time or established at the time, 2013. And so all of the partnerships with Microsoft, with Google were established. That's the reason why UP students and faculty are enjoying unlimited storage from Microsoft and Google, because we availed of the services that they provide. And we were also able to migrate to the cloud in 2013. So these preparations were really prophetic in the sense that, something big will happen in 2020. And so the effort of the university, the relentless activities related to digital transformation was really something that we can be, share with you. We are happy about it, but I have to caution you that this journey is not yet over. So this is like work in progress. And our idea is really to establish, aside from digital spaces being established, we would like also to create smart buildings. So we anticipate that after the pandemic, our students will go back to our campuses, and it should be ready for a new mode of learning, which is flexible learning. We also anticipate that under flexible learning, blended learning will also be adopted by some of our professors. So the idea here is that our building remotely can be managed. All of these assets, resources can be managed remotely. And with the use of AI and all other emerging technologies, we can maximize all of the benefits derived from this, like cost savings, security. Maybe we can, save some money from, security and janitorial services. But we believe in the long run, it would really benefit the university. And so the overall goal of UP is really to establish a smart campus, not only in the digital space, but more importantly, in the physical space. So that's the very reason all of these investments are being made by the university. And we are all happy about this because I'm sure you have paid your taxes. So part of the taxes that we pay goes to the university. But again, like the experience of DLSU, this is not really something that was served on a silver platter. We experienced a lot of challenges, but I'm sure that many of these items here are self-explanatory. I cannot expound more on this because of the time constraints. But what is very important here is that, both technical and people-related issues, we confront it. And what is striking here is the presence of this this item, highly opinionated stakeholders. It's really the spirit of democracy that we feel inside the university, to the extent that if we roll out a computerized solution, you would expect that our students would stage a rally opposing such computerization. And also that there would be professors who would group together, and they would also lobby based on whatever interest that they have. But that is part of the democratic environment that we all enjoy in the university. Okay, but we hurdled many of these challenges through thick and thin. Window glasses were broken, just to oppose our efforts, but we continued and we fight on, and that's the very reason that we are now enjoying some of the benefits of this digital transformation efforts. These are now the success factors. I will not explain this lengthily. Number one, this is not based on the book, but you can see this from the books, but in our true experience, we cannot start with our digital transformation without, number one, executive support. So leadership is very important. So we are lucky that our current president is very much active, in supporting investments related to ICT. And then another thing that we did in UP is to do strategic alignment. Related to this is that we reviewed the teaching and learning strategies of UP, and we have to align it with our technology strategies. IT cannot operate without learning from our experts, from our academicians, our professors, students, etc. So this gap that existed in our university was closed precisely because somehow, even without our awareness, we have implemented strategic alignment. Number three is stakeholders' participation. This is very important. If you fail to respect the culture in UP, you will be swallowed. So forgive me for using that word, but that is really reality. So each and every stakeholder in UP must be involved in the process. His or her opinion must be heard, or else all of your digitization, digital transformation efforts would fail, okay? Or it would go through a very difficult implementation process. And right now, we are trying to strengthen the governance, talking about our smart campuses and our approach to flexible learning. So we now talk about technology. We reviewed our processes, we checked our policies, and very recently, we have proposed to establish a more solid, more technology and enabled manpower. So that is the missing link out of these four elements. We have done significant investments related to technology, to our process and policies. And of course, now we are trying to look at how IT people, will be supported so that they can implement all of our initiatives. And we are conscious about these three components of technology. We treat it as a system. We always emphasize that we cannot only invest in one or two components, but all of these five should be considered, because if one of these gears would fail, the entire IT system of the university would fail. So these are, again, as a recap, the different success factors that we experience in UP. I hope this would contribute to you. Do not attempt to start your digital transformation effort or activity without ensuring that you have executive support. Align it properly, your organizational strategies with your technology strategies. Solicit, get the participation of stakeholders, have ownership. It is wrong to say that since this is computerization, it will be managed by IT people. That is a myth that should be corrected. So if there is a computerization project, whoever is the functional manager, the head of that function, should lead the effort of transforming the organization, embracing technology. And again, the four elements, which are very important, the elements of governance. And we always say that at this time we would, strike because precisely there is a crisis, and we would like to leverage on this situation. We hope that the journey of UP will continue. So let me cite Albert Einstein. In the midst of every crisis lies great opportunity. But this is Albert Einstein. Let me share with you our battle cry in UP. Our battle cry in UP is this: kung gusto, may paraan. Kung ayaw, may dahilan. So that is something that we really to ponder about, because if there's no political will, we can always think of a reason to resist technology, to refuse embracing flexible learning, how we will be able to adapt technology. At the end, everyone will be a loser. So again, let me repeat that. Kung gusto, may paraan. Kung ayaw, may dahilan. Thank you very much. Professor Epi.
Thank you, Director Paulo. I wish we can merge TMC and ITDC and you as the merge director. Now, for the rest of the participants, you can now ask your questions. We are now in the open forum section. So anybody? Basically, the LaSalle and the UP system are practically the same. Okay, Christian. Any question? Comments? So I'll start the question. Yeah. To both Dr. Arnel and to Paulo, you are two sophisticated Philippine universities, and the systems you are quoting are so expensive. Oracle, Amazon, and even if it's not expensive, you have the reputation of your donors and your alumni to give you that system. How can we implement this to less endowed universities in the provinces? You're doing very well. LaSalle system is just as good as the UP system.
Maybe I can begin and then Paulo can actually add more, right? Now, I think that's the general sentiment of most of the HEIs that we have in the country, more particularly since majority of them are private universities too. And I think what can happen there is actually a partnership with government. It doesn't have to be very, very expensive, right? We just had to make that decision because there's no more option on our part when we decided to do the digital transformation. But I do hope that as the new normal leads to the next normal, where that's actually more stable, hopefully, or more stable and chaotic at the same time, we can actually have more options and solutions that are not as expensive, right? Even now, I think Oracle, SAP, and all the big providers or solutions are also considering smaller versions or more affordable versions, given that the demand is increasing. So maybe over time, I'm seeing that there might be more affordable solutions out there. Now, having said that, it does not have to be branded. There are a lot of solutions that are free. Google has one of them already. So if you go Google, the Google Suite, there are a lot of things that you can do with that. Moodle, for example, is a free LMS that you can also consider. So there are, as Noel mentioned, I'd like to quote it, kung gusto, may paraan. Kung ayaw, I'd like to add, maraming dahilan at excuses. Right? I mean, that's the reason why I think we always wanted to have the easy way. But I think we need to think through what we can afford, and what we can do. Right? That's what we did in LaSalle. We did not go for this big one. We assessed a lot. We visited a lot of providers and solution partners for us. And then we chose this.
I cannot agree more with Dr. Uy. That is really very true. In UP, we have experienced also the challenge of selecting the best technology. And at the time, I was with UP since 1995. We volunteered to develop the online CRS way back in 1997. I'm sure Dean Manigneg can relate to this. He was with us in the college. we started looking at open source technologies. UVLE is a model-based technology, and until now it's being used by many of our campuses. So this is something that you need to explore. But what is important is that you will be able to tap competent, small subject matter experts who will be able to provide you with sound, quality advice. Because without a consultant, a person who can guide you through this process, it will really be very difficult to navigate throughout this, technology selection process, acquisition, etc. So it is good to really open up and try reaching out. Our group, ITDC, was established precisely to provide G2G IT services. It's like the Pahinungod, the Padayon group in UP, but we are more focused on IT. So you can get my email address from the organizer, and we are more than willing to assist you so that all of this open source and available for free technologies can be explored by your institution, not only as an academe or as an institution in higher learning, but a regular agency, an office, a business firm can also avail of this. So that will be my answer, sir.
Okay, my son graduated in UP in undergrad and his master's in LaSalle. He's now in the US, but he wants a transcript of record. He can order it online in LaSalle. But I had to do physically ordering it 2 years ago at the UP registrar's office. That gives me 4 weeks to process. Now, have we improved ordering online transcript in UP compared to LaSalle?
Well, in UP right now, I can say that there are now online modes of requesting for these records. All of the campuses, we have a website. If an alumni will go to the oar.up.edu.ph, we have a complete list of how to get in touch online. So you can avail of the services. What is good right now is the payment channels. The payment channels now are very much elaborate, comprehensive. A bank can transfer a money to another bank through InstaPay. I am sure that our friend from Grab will also introduce their Grab wallet. I hope that they would also consider porting with institutions like UP or LaSalle, so that this easy payment mechanism can be availed of. But Professor Epi, we are very much, prepared for this sort of things. But then again, the limitation is very clear. The depository bank of UP is Land Bank, because we are a government institution, unlike LaSalle. But InstaPay has really opened a lot of gates, for other banks to link and to transfer money. So that's the answer, sir.
It's glad I know it has changed since I last went there 5 years ago. Now, to Greg Camacho, you talk about the food delivery technology. You talk about how you monitor performance of your merchants. Now, you talk about data analytics. Are you using SAS via for learners in your analytics program, or are you using a different analytics program?
Yeah, hi Doc Epi. So I think to answer that question. Well, first of all, pala sir, if you want yung physical copy delivered, we have Grab Express po. Makatulong if you need. Yeah, so I think for the question, I think it's so we use a suite of different programs. Actually, a lot of the tech actually sits outside of the Philippines. It's in the regional office. Whether it's in Singapore, I believe we have some satellite offices here in China and the US, if I'm not mistaken. So I believe so I'm not too sure if it's if it's SaaS, just SaaS, but I do know there's we use a bunch of different tools, and that's also in addition to all of the internal tools that we produce in order to produce the analytics and the data pulling that we need.
Now, the first speaker, Undersecretary Pandeda, said that a digital government needs private sector participation. But it seems that private sector, LaSalle, UP, and Grab are doing well ahead of government. According to the Department of Information and Communication Technology, it says that a digital government requires an infrastructure. So underserved areas, for instance, the Department of Education and Culture, Department of Education said online learning they have no internet access for 83% of public schools. So my point is that I think the government is the one behind. If you listen to the LaSalle presentation, to the UP presentation, to the Grab presentation, the private sector are doing well. The technology exists, but for government there is technology, but there is no infrastructure. We have no broadband reaching the underserved sector. So it's not internet speed, it's coverage. So I don't think you'll be afraid of Muka Ozone because the coverage is just in urban areas. You should go to radio to campaign. So there is a link between private sector and the government in terms of the ID, the national ID, which can be used in the universities when they want to verify applicants, and also for Grab, or ordering food and not paying for it. So that's the only link. But right now, what I did not see is where is the infrastructure? So if you're a basketball star, where is the money?
Can I
Yeah, okay.
shares have an input related to that, sir?
Okay.
Well,
Yes.
the good answer to that question is that if we have like a COVID-19 patient, what we need is a doctor. So if we are to, enhance, improve, strengthen the infrastructure of government, obviously we need engineers, we need technology champions, we need someone who understands technology and the dynamics behind technology. People issues would come in. So there is a marriage of many, fields, discipline. And it's important that the person who would steer this organization should be aware of the environment. So I can safely put it that way. But that we still need a lot of things in our infra, in government. One is that we need to be very cohesive in our efforts. We need to provide a framework so that our government agencies can be guided on how to proceed with digital transformation. Because right now, what we are seeing is a silo implementation of systems. No? Though some would argue they have a plan, etc., but planning is different from implementation. So like the lesson that we had, Professor Epi, in technology management, to answer that question resoundingly, what we need are technology managers. So that is my take related to what you have imparted. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Paulo. So Paulo, last question. Paulo was mentioning the culture, stakeholders, in trying to push for a technology. Now, can I direct this question to the rest of Greg and to Dr. Arnel? Because I understand what Paulo was describing. I'm part of the University of the Philippines. So do you know whether such cultural organizational domain as discussed in the introduction was encountered in LaSalle and in Grab? Okay, Arnel first, Dr. Arnel.
Sure. When we embark on the Between project, that was primordial in our concern. We have learned the lessons of the past. And I could not agree more to the assessment shared by Paulo earlier about academic setting. There are a lot of people who are opinionated in areas, and we need to encourage them and to embrace them to help us with the buy-in. Of course, not to mention that there are also cultural shifts already happening. Maybe one thing good about LaSalle is that we can always rest with the Lasallian culture as one of the grounding part. Because of the Lasallian culture, we share in one thing, the mission of LaSalle. And maybe that can be a good rallying point for all of us in different disciplines with different perspectives or even political perspectives, right? And I think that's the reason why in the project, we have a team devoted to communications, organizational development, and of course, to change management. We know that that is crucial and critical. But I think at the end of the day, we also need to make sure that we have principles that will help us in the buy-in to the new technology that we're going to be embracing. And one principle that I've shared, which is very, very difficult to do, was also that we need to make sure that everybody understands that we will not leave anyone behind. Tall order, impossible, but we're hopeful that for those who want to journey, we take the steps. And that's what we wanted to do. We will not leave you, we'll support you. And even now, we're still there. We're still upskilling some of our people. One of the things that we're looking at now, because we have two live systems, is what we call data analytics. Our people are not aware of how to do data analysis, right? Because they were so used to canned reports. But with what Greg shared, I mean, big data is upon us, and we need to make sure that we also know how to manage it. So these are the upscaling. So the journey is a marathon. It's not a 100-meter dash. That's why we need to have champions who will stay put. And I think just a segue to the government. I know there are people in government who sees this and who are there right now, but they need time also to do it. Hopefully, the next government, whoever comes in, will also support that direction. It's always good to stand on the shoulders of our predecessors rather than to build new ones all the time. Right? I mean, so I guess culture is important, and what helped us is the Lasallian culture and the Lasallian mission.
Greg?
Yeah, sure. Well, first off, very hard to go after Doc Arnel and Doc Paola, no? But I'm gonna try my best. I think the interesting thing to say with Grab is that we're kind of entrenched in a lot of different industries, no? So we have our transportation, logistics, food, pay, and so as you try to navigate all of these different industries, you know, obviously there will be some pushback from certain stakeholders. And I think it's like, you know, I would like to think it's because you want to have the what's best for people, at heart, right? So I think I tend to agree na it's very important for digital transformation to be enabled for us to have harmony or synergy with the government, right? It's very important because they do enable some of the things that we want to accomplish. So I think in that regard, what you'll see is for Grab, we do try to foster really good relationships with government institutions like LGUs, for example. Earlier I mentioned this drive we've had to try and get our delivery partners vaccinated. That one's very important for us, and we've thankfully been able to partner with LGUs, to make it safer for our delivery partners, but also for the consumers who are receiving the food. And then I guess just to end, one of the very important things about Grab is we want to enable everyday entrepreneurs, right? And I think it kind of echoes what Doc Arnel said about people not being left behind. And so we try to make sure, like for example, the merchant portal that we're rolling out, we want that the SMBs, the small medium enterprises, to be able to use it. Because normally in the past, right, you only have like the really big QSRs or quick service restaurants who have access to that type of data and that type of analysis. And then even for our delivery partners, that's why we do like training programs for them. We try to do financial literacy training, for example, and best practices. So I guess to end, no doubt there is it is a conversation. It's not like we say something and it gets approved all the time. But I think ultimately it benefits like the Philippines, right, or our country, when we find those two branches kind of working together.
Greg, there's a question from the audience addressed to you. The question is, does Grab have a plan to extend your services to less urbanized provinces in the future?
Yeah, actually, thank you for the question. Short answer is yes. We're actually in several cities now. I can talk a bit more about Grab Food. We're in around 20 areas now around the country outside Metro Manila. And then very interestingly, just this week actually, we've launched in Greater Metro Manila. So that's Bulacan, Cavite, Rizal, Laguna. So yeah, definitely. I think the cool thing rin about Grab kasi is the Grab transport business went ahead, and so they've sort of paved the way for Grab to be present in these other cities. And so, parang for us, for Grab Food, it's been easier to kind of assess which areas we can kind of get into. So yeah, I'm gonna plug na rin. You guys in Bulacan, Rizal, Cavite, or Laguna, yeah, we are available there now. Please order. Thank you, thank you.
Okay, any other question from the audience? Okay, let me close this session. Thank you, Mr. Greg Camacho, Dr. Arnel Chancellor Oy, and Director of TMC and ITDC, Paulo Mapahe. I look forward to you being head of the two units. Thank you for your presentation. Very interesting, very knowledgeable, very informative. And I hope we can have another session like this in the future. Okay, let me summarize before we go, before Dr. Dongka will close the session. The first session, USEC Dr. Rosemary E. De Leon, PhD in Economics, Undersecretary at NEDA for Policy and Coordination. She mentioned about ambition natin 240. Since I am an economist, ambition natin 240 is a long-term plans of the Philippines. Every 6 years, you have a medium-term plan called Philippine Development Plan. Ambition natin 2040 is actually ambition in a sense that it aims to have $11,000 per capita income by 2040, or in peso term, an average monthly income per family of 120,000 pesos. We will become a high middle income country by 2040. So Dr. Edelon presented a digital government. A digital government is a prerequisite for economic recovery. But it cannot go without private sector participation. And in particular, she mentioned university partnership. And that's where we need Arnel to be the next DICT secretary. No, she also mentioned about ecosystems. So if you have a digital government, it goes with institutions, policies, and regulations, together with university partnership. So my question here is that, where is the infrastructure? So she did not mention the infrastructure part. Now, Greg Camacho talks about changing consumer behavior. And she talks about how to monitor sales performance. And she presented a lot of data analytics about buyer behavior, demographics, and she mentions about the programs of Grab, like long distance program. And the cloud, so you can have long distance purchases and the cloud purchases. So in a sense, Greg Camacho talks about the food delivery technology, the role of the private sector, particularly Grab, in trying to meet this market gap, which Grab is trying to meet, especially during these disrupted times. Then you have Director Paulo Pahe, who presented a very informative, just like Dr. Arnel. Dr. Arnel talks about three domains: financial management system, student lifestyle, and human resources system. Director Pahe talks about university information system, student academics information system, and teaching and knowledge system. So basically, they look different, but basically they cover the same data. But the point when I started in my introduction to develop a cohesive system that seems to be met by both the UP system and the De La Salle system. A cohesive system where you can have a cohesive communication with students, faculty, staff, alumni. Both the UP system and the La Salle system are meeting that demands, requirements of a digital transformation. So where do we go from now here? So I would like to see Paolo being director of the ICT, and then Dr. Arnold, director of DOST, secretary of the DOST, and Greg Tamatsu to be the head of Grab Philippines, Grab Asia. Okay, thank you very much for all the speakers. Let me give the floor to Dr. Donka.
Thank you so much, Professor Patalinghub, and thank you so much to our speakers, to Dr. Rosemary, Undersecretary Rosemary, Mr. Greg Camacho, Dr. Arnal Oy, and Professor Paulo Noel Pahe. This is really an interesting and very timely and very relevant topic. I was listening to the presentations and the question and answer. I was thinking, if we did not start the digital transformation prior to the pandemic, what will happen to us? If it wasn't for the digital transformation in the academe, maybe we do not have jobs right now in the academe. Maybe we cannot perform the online teaching. We cannot perform our admin processes through work from home setup. And especially if we cannot go outside, how can we eat? How can we buy our goods? If it wasn't for this digital transformation, even in the food business and even in the way we watch movies, then I think our life in the pandemic is not only boring, but something that we will not like. And I know moving forward, this digital transformation must continue because we will no longer go back to what we were before. Digital transformation will be there. There will be face-to-face restaurants. There will be face-to-face classes, but it will be totally different right now. And thanks to digital transformation, we have new job opportunities, not only for people, not only for us, but also for other people, like the Grab delivery. They have provided jobs for many people, and those small and medium size businesses were also benefited from this one. So thank you very much. Let us all help each other in this digital transformation because it will really help the entire country. Maraming salamat po hanggang sa muling pagkikita sa mga ERDT activities. Once again, in behalf of Professor Manegdeg of ERDT, I am Professor Jonathan Dunca, project leader of ERDT, saying thank you for all your participation, especially our speakers, but also all those who attended this session. Maraming salamat po. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to you, maybe.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dungka. Thank you so much, Dr. Arnel, Sir Greg, Sir Paulo, Dr. Patalin Hug. See you again next time po in our future events. Thank you
Okay.
so much and happy weekend to all.
Bye-bye. Bye.